So parasympathetic is your connection to anything rest, digest, healing in general. It's pretty obvious your environment plays a huge role on your breathing pattern. And I mean, even music can technically put you in a sympathetic state.
Yeah.
You know, hearing cars honk and doors slam. You know, if you're listening to that while you're resting, are you truly rested? To realize sleep and rest are two different things.
Yeah.
Right?
Because you can sleep and not get rest.
You can sleep and not get rest. I feel like one of the biggest conspiracies of them all is our breathing pattern at the end of the day.
Welcome to the Captain Planet podcast. My name is Lance Kurz, aka Captain Planet. I'm a former professional athlete. I once suffered from sickle cell trait, but I use 7 natural doctors to help me alleviate that suffrage. On this podcast, we focus on those 7 natural doctors so we can potentially help you with any health issues that you may have. For today's episode, I have a good friend. He's going to be talking about air. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Devon Graham.
Thank you for having me, brother.
Devon, man, I'm happy to have you on this podcast, man. I've been wanting to get you here for a while. So we've been doing these 7 natural doctors, and I wanted to do the air portion, and I knew there was only one person I can go get. It was you. What's up, man? How are you, man? Devon, let them know the Devon, where you're from. Let them know everything about you.
Well, should I break out in my Jamaican accent? Well,
You could.
I come from a Jamaican background, originally from Jersey. I moved here in Miami actually during COVID. And my journey started around 2014 when I lost everything to a business partner. And I turned that turmoil and transmuted it into what I call breath art, breath play, and focusing on the parasympathetic nervous system in one's everyday life, whether that be a group setting, a company that wants to relieve stress in their everyday workspace. I've worked with Google and Facebook in their smaller offices in Jersey as well. So I have that on my resume, going into different spaces, no matter what the space may be, and bringing a holistic, practical, everyday style of what I call breath art.
Okay, so Devon, let's back it up a little bit. You gave us a lot there. So you said that you had a business partner that things would belly up with. What business was it, and what happened? You don't have to tell us in great detail, but just tell us the gist of it.
Yeah, well, it was in orgonite making. So I used to make orgonite pyramids back in the day, and we were very different where we put the actual person's picture in the actual orgonite, mixed with different crystals and stuff of that nature, and also their birthstones. Very detailed. No one else was doing it. You guys can steal the idea. Go ahead. And yeah, we just picked a niche where we saw a huge potential, and that's what brought us to Cali. And I came back one day, and all my crypto was gone, literally, from my business partner at the time. And
Did he have the login or something? Or?
He had the login, everything.
So hold up. So why did you give him the login?
No, it was a it was a
shared situation.
It was a shared situation
Okay.
at the time, and yeah, we did a lot of stuff together.
Mm-hmm. So he saw a quick way out and was like, okay, let me get this in bail, almost.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Listen, man, adversity, it's not a setback, right? It's like pulling a rubber band. It's winding you up to do some great things, right? That's how I see adversity. But you say you were working with Apple and Microsoft?
No. Facebook and Google.
Facebook and Google.
Subsidiary offices that works with them. Yeah.
And what were you doing for them?
So I went into the office space because it was actually through my uncle that gave the word of mouth, like, hey, my nephew is into holistic healing, etc. So we literally, when Google at the time was allowing people to sleep at their offices and be more into yoga and stuff of that nature.
Pre-2020, right?
Yes, pre-2020. So when they were into that, I got into a space where I was telling them, like, hey, you can put infrared lighting instead of having particular lights, LEDs, 10 minutes a day, grounding, etc. And within 1 week, productivity, they saw it increase like never before. So that was actually my first time I could have like a physical resume, and it was actually through my uncle that gave me the intro, even going into a space like that with no background history whatsoever. And he was just based off his own testimonial with me. And that was my intro into office spaces at that point. Because, one company is going to be like, hey, what are you doing different? And then that leads into word of mouth. And that's how I even got into the breath art even before social media, even before getting back there.
Yeah, man, that good old nepotism, man. I feel like we're in a space now where we can start benefiting from nepotism. About time, right? I love it. I love to hear it. So you say that you've been doing holistic health work with these companies. When would you say the companies did they tell you to go elsewhere, or did they not tell you to go elsewhere? Did they give you a recommendation to go to other locations or other companies or whatnot?
Contract based.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So it was contract based, and then they would give me some leadway saying like, hey, you can go to HR to this company.
Okay.
And pitch what you want to give to the company. I had like a whole skeleton of the company, what the company is based off of, and go based off that foundation to bring the practical, holistic side of things into those spaces.
Practical,
because
there's some people out here making people do some weird stuff that doesn't even make sense, right? But yeah, so let's wind it back before that. Were you in college? What high school you go to? What was your major? What was your studies like?
So yeah, I went to Livingston High, and I went to Rutgers for a year, and then after Rutgers, it was the start of the entrepreneurial journey. So technically, I'm a college dropout, if you want to put it like that. And yeah, that's what started my whole trip to Cali. Early Bitcoin investor at the time, before people even knew what that was. Mount Gox days, before Mount Gox blew up the way.
I don't even know what that is.
Exactly.
What is that? What is
that's
that?
how far, if you do your research, that's how far I was invested into Bitcoin.
Yeah, but what is that company? I never heard of it. Is
Bitcoin?
That, no, not Bitcoin, but the other company.
Which one?
No, Mount something.
Oh, Mount Gox?
Yeah, Mount Gox.
Yeah, so Mount Gox was actually a broker. So it's just like today's Coinbase.
Okay.
Yeah, before Coinbase was even a thing, there was Mount Gox. But Mount Gox did everything not so by the books, and a lot of people lost money at that time too. So
that's why they're not around now, right? Because if they made money, people would be raving it, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. So Devon, so what was your in route to breath work? Like, were you doing breath work there at those companies, or did you come across it later and like, you know what, I like this, let me focus more on that? How did that come about? This podcast is sponsored by CaptainPlanet.com. At CaptainPlanet.com, we have herbal supplements designed to address the most common health issues. Our flagship product is a superfood protein, where it not only has protein, but it has high organic minerals from sources like sea moss, chaga, cordyceps, and lion's mane to actually make you healthy. Go over to CaptainPlanet.com, type in summer24 to get 20% off. Back to the show.
So it came about the fact that I had to sell my laptop for gas money for the car to drive all the way back to Jersey at the time. And there's a spot in Chinatown where the Bruce Lee statue is, and they were hosting events at that point. If you guys know where that spot is, you already know what I'm talking about. And the community center, they were having they were like a holistic event type of thing, qigong, etc. But one thing particular, Bigu, is what interests me, and it's a type of Taoist fasting. And my mentor at the time, he was talking about fasting and integrating the breath and energy cultivation of that in that aspect. And after he was talking, I went up to him and I was like, I'm going through this, I lost this. And within a 3-month period, he took me under his wing. He even gave me some money to go all the way back to Jersey as well, towards the 3-month period.
So hold up. So you met this guy, and within 3 months, he was giving you money.
After the 3 months.
After the 3 months, okay. I was about to say, because you're a smooth talker. If you can get someone to give you money that quick, man, that's amazing.
No,
man.
but he offered, I stayed at his place, offered food. He even, we had long talk, and that was actually the first time I did liquid fasting for the first time before our first breath session, which was a 2-hour experience. So he had me fast for 2 weeks on liquids.
What type of liquids?
Lots of juices, lots of soups, mainly a lot of soups. So like onion soups like that, and a little bit of herbs he would put in the soup as well, and just blend it up. And yeah, got to the first breath session, guided me, crying, laughing.
The whole 360.
Yeah.
The whole gambit. Yeah. Oh yeah. So why is it that fasting is essential for breath work? What is that? Why are those two combined together?
I wouldn't say it's essential. I think it's part of the natural cycle, because when you're sleeping, you're technically fasting, right? And,
Absolutely.
If you were to have a really good breath pattern before rest, your resting patterns will follow your active patterns depending on how you were breathing before bed. So that's something to consider in those spaces.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. Let's dive right into it, right? So, I had that down here on the almost at the end of my questions, because it's sleep, right? It's towards the end. That's what you do at the end of the day. But let's move that up to the top. So breath work when you're sleeping, what does that look like? Are you putting tape over your mouth? What are you doing? Like what is that?
So you could also be playing something like subliminal breathwork music that I make, where one of the sparks was someone was in a coma, and we played one of my tracks for him. And then when he got off, the respirator, he was on a respirator. And then 2 weeks off of the respirator, he could do the exact same breathing pattern he was listening to in the breath music that I make. So that's what also inspired me to make more breathful music, if you will, integrating parasympathetic breath patterns in the music.
So this guy was in a coma and he heard it.
No, not coma. He's just on a respirator.
On the respirator. Okay. All right. I'm about to say, because that's some osmosis type of situation, just having them near it and they're able to repeat it or something.
I mean, that would be ideal too if someone's on a coma instead of playing news all the time. I mean, that's what's going to be imprinting.
Low vibrational.
And then when they wake up from the coma, I mean, so many things could be imprinted into the mind at that point too, right?
Absolutely. The mind is just a canvas. Yeah. All right. So you mentioned a word a few times, and I want people to know exactly what this word is and what it means. You said parasympathetic. What does that mean?
So parasympathetic is your connection to anything rest, digest, healing in general. Sympathetic is the other spectrum, where you're in fight or flight mode. Cortisol is spiked.
Yeah, what could put us in some of that sympathetic mode?
Well, breathing pattern.
No, sympathetic mode.
Oh, sympathetic mode.
Sympathetic.
Breathing pattern. That's one, in terms of how you're breathing, how you're respirating.
So if I'm
exactly hyperventilating, environment as well plays a factor. If you're in a stuffy environment, of course, that's going to start affecting your breathing pattern. Then you're going to start hyperventilating on a micro level in that sense, especially if you're in mold. So I've seen the way people breathe when they're in mold, and it's very raspy, and it's pretty obvious your environment plays a huge role on your breathing pattern. And I always say the external world will rule the way you breathe until you rule the way you breathe.
That's epigenetics, all right? The environment controls behaviors or gene behaviors, and why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't it put you in?
I remember.
I was like in a panic state almost.
I remember a joke you said that the colonizers can't stay in the warm area, something of that nature.
You want me to break that down?
Yeah, break that.
Yeah. So we're talking about nose, right? And one of the things that I like to focus on, I haven't said it much on this podcast, but I like to focus on the nose, because the nose, the skin, and the hair determines like who you are and where you're from, right? And that gives you a pathway of like a manual of where you should be eating and what type of environment you should be experiencing, right? So typically, people who colonized the world, their nostrils were very narrow. They weren't short and wide, right? Because they're from a region where it's cold and it's arid, so their nose has to heat up the air before it goes into the body, right? And people with a narrow nostril, they cannot survive near the equator. The air is too thick and it's too hot, their bodies wasn't designed to be there. So that's why you'll never see a group of European people, like a large group of European, like hugely populated around that equatorial region. Like they just can't survive. It's almost like putting a black person in New York. They're gonna have stress issues. They're gonna be fighting and angry and mad because their body's not designed to be there, right? We weren't made in these regions. So that's why, I say that, and a lot of people don't like it, but it has nothing to do with me. It's just nature. Like natural selection chose that for us. It's not like I came around one day and said, you people are defective. Like, no, like you're defective in a certain region. Just like me with sickle cell, if I go to New York or New Jersey above that 35th parallel, I'm gonna have issues just by naturally being there. No mangoes grow there, no watermelon grows there. Well, sometimes of the year, but that's when I can go there, right? So if a mango can't grow, don't go. That's my philosophy, right? But yeah, that nose thing, man, me and you connected on that really well, because one time I put up the nose, and I was talking about the Egyptian nose, how they would chop them off, right? That was the indicator of who the person could have been, right? So you gotta deface it. You gotta take off the nose. Yeah, because that's the manual. That tells you exactly who that person's from.
Don't listen to the guides. The wind did not blow it. The wind did not blow it off. Come on.
Exactly. So where were we before I said that? Because you got me excited. I typically don't talk about my knowledge in this podcast. I typically keep it on the guest. I try not to say much about what I know. But what were we before that? You caught me off guard there.
Where were we?
So it was the sleep.
Oh, rest.
Yeah, rest and breathing during rest and the patterns and
listening.
The sympathetic. What puts you in a sympathetic state? So people with a narrow nostril, are they in a sympathetic state when they are in those humid regions?
No, I mean even music can technically put you in a sympathetic state.
Yeah.
Hearing cars honk and doors slam. If you're listening to that while you're resting, are you truly rested at that point? Don't you think that's going to impact your breathing pattern or your state of rest? And that's when you start to realize sleep and rest are two different things.
Yeah.
Right?
Because you can sleep and not get rest.
You can sleep and not get rest. And that connects with the breathing pattern, right? People with sleep apnea, people that are snoring.
Yeah. Talk about that.
People, if you wake up with your mouth dry, most likely you were mouth breathing. And even going to bed, you want to be nasal breathing and just getting to that point and then take your rest. Another way of doing that is smiling to sleep. That's an easy one. So I don't care how bad your day is, smile to sleep. Because when you're smiling to sleep, you're setting the last muscle going into your subconscious at that point. So your subconscious is going to have a feedback from all the last muscle you were consciously engaging with via breath, especially if you're conscious with your breath at that point. And then that's going to follow into your sleep pattern, and you may not even need the tape.
I never knew that. I never knew that. I think that smile towards the end of your day is the last expression on your face does have an impact. Because it's a carryover effect. It's like a compounding effect, right?
Yeah, man.
You wake up happy most likely. If you watch, let's say, something on Instagram, someone dying or getting shot, and that's the last thing you saw, and you're moping within. Oh man, this is gonna be
age of technology, right? It's a big world out there.
Yeah.
And I feel like one of the biggest conspiracies of them all is our breathing pattern at the end of the day. It really is.
Yeah. So let's talk about. I know this is not necessarily air, but let's talk about, because you said something earlier about music, right? The hertz. The hertz have changed, and that controls the person, right? The frequency, the vibration of the music. I know I love Bob Marley. I love that reggae, the chicken. I love that. I love it slow, right? I love a chill vibe. But what happened to? Do you know about what happened to the music? Because I know you're a little bit into the music industry. You're doing your thing over there.
I put frequencies into my music.
Exactly.
We even embedded scalar into the music. So I even had people test out. You can listen to a scalar infused 528 hertz.
You have albums, or do you?
Yeah, all on my YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all there. We have some new music coming out too.
Can we find you on Spotify?
You can spot me on Can't find me there.
Man, shout yourself out, man. Let them know.
Breath Tao 1 is a compilation of many years put together, and it's a compilation of Breath Tao 1 through 12. So individual stances of music and breath, if you will, that I put together. And yeah, it's my first big compilation. It's like a 3-hour audiobook that I put on YouTube. But when it comes to music, when you put it up on YouTube, technically the hertz and the bit rate is technically changed. But if you infuse scalar, the integrity of that music stays intact. And our ancient ancestors knew this, because when they would do ceremonies, etc., what are they writing on the earth, or making imagery with the stick and creating different symbols on the sand, etc., because they know the earth has a pulse. So that pulse, what does a pulse do? If you have a pulse, what? You're alive. So our ancestors knew, when doing certain ceremonies, drawing certain symbols in the earth, amplifies the frequency that certain imagery is giving. Now, architecture in general, you can say, is literally solidified frequency. All the way to the Ethiopian cross is technically a particular hertz. If you look at it too, it's in a beautiful fractal, and it gives off a particular frequency, especially if you're blasting it with like something like a cold plasma.
What does that do? What does that do?
So this is a scalar plasma projector, and it's giving off cold plasma. If you want to get a blast. And one of the number one things it does, and you know, reactive oxygen species, it increases that in
free
the
radicals.
body. Yeah, free radicals in that sense increases that. And cold plasma has so many use cases, but we integrate that with our breathing patterns when I do the events as well. And just bringing that full circle to frequency, when you're integrating harmonious frequencies with your breathing pattern, it sets a powerful ripple into your everyday life. So if you're listening to a lot of 808s, you know, that's going to cause a disruption in your heart rhythms.
What is the 808?
So 808 is a particular frequency in certain genres, not just hip hop, but mainly hip hop though.
Yeah.
Mainly hip hop. You can find a lot of 808s in there as well.
And we can speculate on why that is, but let's finish. Yeah.
Yeah. But in general, at least what I'm doing, I love to imprint harmonious frequencies into my music, and whether it's a sublayer or utilizing scalar to help increase the integrity of it. You know, it's very felt. You can feel it a lot more versus you can type in something randomly like 528 hertz and compare it to the scalar infused 528 hertz. And you be the judge of that, and you give me some feedback on that. But when you integrate scalar, it helps increase the integrity of it, and it doesn't allow any outside interference of giving that particular output.
It's like a force field almost.
0 point.
Yeah. So what else can I put the scalar on? Like, can I get it tatted on me?
Technically.
Yeah, I'm trying to be guided. I'm trying to be covered at all times.
So we went from taking pictures of people, and we would actually put it on our scalar plate and run frequencies into it, and they would give feedback remotely. So we're literally remotely sending frequencies to a particular person based off a picture, because your picture is not just a picture, it's a biosignature.
Yeah.
Because that's literally you in that moment in time. So we went from people, and we took it up another notch, and I did this for a whole year for free, where people would hop on my Instagram live and show me their farms, and I would take screenshots of their farms. People would also email it to me, and you can't placebo a farm having more plant life, faster yield, and less pests.
Yeah.
You can't placebo that.
No, you can't.
So
that has to be done deliberately. Yeah,
exactly. So we can use something what we call the home scalar, something of that nature to imprint frequencies, and literally everything I touch, from also her products, Jen products that she makes. Shout out wifey.
Yeah.
Nature herself 369. We plasma infuse it. We do everything out the norm, if you say, but infuse scalar wherever we can.
Yeah. So let's connect this scalar situation. What's the history behind it? Whose work with it? Did Tesla know about this stuff? Like, talk about this.
Tesla knew about it, but it wasn't just Tesla.
Yeah.
It was, like I said, it goes all the way back to our ancestors, all the way from
So
something like biogeometry. Biogeometry is found in ancient Egypt, where if you were to move your hand in certain ways, they measured where it'll send off an electrical signal contacting different parts of your organs if you move it a particular way. And the Dr. Ibrahim, I think that's his name, he took all those symbols and did a whole trial with the whole Egyptology people, etc.
ancient
Kemet, all those people. And he had fields of cages of chickens. Everyone was taking antibiotics, but his cage with the chickens, it was just those symbols around. And they had the same readings that the people who took, the chickens who took the antibiotics had, but even way better. Starting from a point where they were sick.
Yep.
So they took the sick chickens and had a controlled study where they had one with the symbols and one without the symbols, just giving them antibiotics. And within the same time frame, the chickens with the symbols were a lot healthier than the ones with the antibiotics.
Yeah, so that now you're going against modern medicine.
No, I think it's part of medicine, right?
Yeah.
Because all the way down in terms of modern medicine, back in the day, we had linen sheets that helped the electricity in the body. It's all connecting back to the electrical impulse of the body, and breath is the number one guiding force in that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, air controls, air is life. You know, chi, that's what they call it, the chi energy, right? The first time I learned about that was in Egypt, right? They had me doing these nose weird. I'm like, what is this? Like, what is that? What is that? I know what it is, but I want you to explain. You know, why is it that you hold one side and then, you know, with the fingers here, and then you're going back and forth? Like, what's the whole practice behind that?
The whole practice in general when dealing with any breath art is contrast. So it's not just the actual aspect of just a technique, but it's the aspect of what breath symbolizes, contrast. So if I were to breathe in a particular pattern for a certain amount of time, I may, depending how aware you are, you may start seeing your reality and quote unquote rhythm of your life, which is your breath technically, start to change and interact with you on an everyday basis, whether that be mainly in your head, which is technically all is mental.
Yeah.
And what is the conductor of your mental cerebral connections? Your breath. So shift the breath patterns, you shift the mental patterns.
Yeah, because a lot of people think it's just, let me just change how I think, right? You can just change the way you breathe, and that changes the way you think, right? There's more than one way to, well, I wouldn't say skin a cat, but I don't like saying that, but there's more than one way to get to the promised land, to sort of say. But so you said that you use this in the events that you have. Talk about that a little bit. How do your events look like, and what's the name of your events?
My events vary. They're not, you don't know what to expect. Well, some of them are so random and different themes. And I just love to bring some spontaneous energy to it. You know, that way it has a life of its own. And you don't expect anything when you come to the events. Just expect breath play, if anything. And that helps keep everything fun, because if it's not fun, is it truly everlasting? If it feels mundane, is it truly everlasting?
Facts, yeah.
And that's why I call it breath play.
Absolutely. So compare your events to like a Wim Hof, right? Where he does a lot of cold water. Why the cold water? What's the, I don't know. I've speculated, but when I don't like speculating.
You know the answer to that. Well, I'll explain my perception of reality in that sense.
But what do you feel about the guy, you know, in general, like his approach to?
I'm not gonna judge him, but in general, you know, anything cold water related, we can also see sun related in terms of in extreme heat. You get spike protein. You get
On
protein.
both sides.
Yeah, on
On
both
both
sides.
sides, yeah.
If you go cold water therapy, you get spike in
Spike
protein as well.
Yep.
So I love the aspect of contrast. I honestly love going from hot to cold. And some people even say that's even more extreme or worse. But I look at it as, isn't that what your body normally does anyway? It goes from hot to cold, back and forth.
Yep.
And when you do that, when I feel that, I feel like it's a deeper internal squeeze, if you will, to the lymphatic system, because you're bringing one heavy contrast to another aspect of contrast, and your body naturally does it anyway. So if you're breathing in a beautiful way and you're feeling the contrast, you can even start to feel your pores and your aura and your magnetic field start to interact more and more as you go back and forth, because that's what you were doing in the womb.
Yeah.
You're surrounded by water at a particular temperature.
Water's a conductor too.
Water is a conductor.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah.
In the amniotic fluid.
Yeah. Oh man, I love this talk, man. This is what I was born to do, right? I was born to have conversations like this with people like you, where we can really get down to the bottom of, what we're doing while we're here. Instead of just breathing, it's like, well, why are we doing? There's a purpose behind it.
That's why I said, like, what are you breathing life into?
Yeah.
That's a question of the moment.
If you're not breathing life into good, you got to breathe it into something, right? And typically you do it the other way, and that's just a mismanagement of time if you're doing it the other way, right? Right. So, but let's talk about the Wim Hof though. His breathing, when I see him, it's like super intense and hard. It looks like it hurts.
Yeah. You have seizures. There's lists of people having seizures. But in general, some doctors will even tell you, come on, it's, from all their years of working, they know what that type of breathing does to the extreme. That's why, hence it's called method, right? And my outlook of it, sharing breath art is mainly focused on longevity. Can I do a particular breath pattern all throughout the day? And that's honestly my main camp. And that particular camp that you're expressing is more so immediary, like in the immediate time, so to speak. And I noticed
almost like an acute situation instead of a chronic, like everyday thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, some people have made it part of their everyday thing.
Yeah.
In that sense, for sure.
Okay. Yeah.
But in terms of longevity, though, is it really ideal?
Yeah.
That's the main question.
Yeah. Well, no, we definitely want to know. Like, I really don't know. Like, that's why I'm asking. The number one thing for me is the spike in cortisol. The
in
heavy
terms
breathing?
of the breathing and the method, you're always going to be spiking up cortisol. Are you decreasing cortisol? No, you're not decreasing cortisol. If the body is having a seizure doing these types of breathing, etc., right? The body's in shock. Is that good long term? Always putting the body in shock that type of way? I don't honestly think so. That's why I've seen people that have particular something like alcohol issues or particular smoking issues, etc. They say, "Hey, I've tried that method, etc." But I'm like, "Yeah, have you tried other styles of breathing? That's literally just one pocket, if you will, just like the box breathing. You're literally putting breath in a box. Why can't you integrate it throughout your whole life and see where it really fits and make your whole life fun?"
Devon, that's one thing that I'm always weary of. Like, if someone has a monopoly on something, I'm like, I don't know. Is there other things in that area? Well, then, okay, cool, because I need a buffet of things. Like, I need a plethora. I need options. You can't tell me this is the only way to do it. It's like, come on. We live under the sun. There's a lot of things under this thing, man. Like, come on, there's a lot of methods. Like places like India, they have a lot of, breath work stuff, right? My girlfriend goes to India a lot, and she comes back, she tells me about everything that they do there. And one thing that is consistent amongst all civilizations is the breath work. I think you're onto something, man. I think you're doing a really good, You're piecing things together for people, you and other people in the breathwork area, that we may just be overlooking something that's very essential to life, which is air. That's one thing that we're going to always do, is be breathing in air. We're not going to always have exposure to sun. We're not always going to have food. We're not going to always drink, right? We're not going to, be in our best mental state. But with air, we can get back to that. And speaking about food, would you say air is food? Air is type of nutrient that you should have?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, if we know muscle trauma is real, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's some deep trauma when some people don't like being touched a particular area, right? Because there's deep-rooted trauma in that. Well, what's part of that trauma? At that particular point of whatever that point of trauma happened, your birth pattern, all the way down to your clothes, but that's even a deeper.
Yeah, I like being naked anyways, bro. I know that's a lot of information, but yeah, I'm naked 99% of the time in the house.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't go outside because I'll get in trouble, right? But in the house, oh yeah, completely.
Increasing your melatonin as well when you're fully naked, by the way. Great for breathing.
Yeah.
Especially if you have trouble sleeping, being naked is very powerful in that sense. And instead of taking melatonin pills, that is becoming a huge problem, unfortunately, in America. So I do want to say, all the parents out there, get your child or get whoever taking the pills, get them around 9 p.m. to 11 p.m., get them into some nasal breathing activities and get those natural chemicals that release anyway from your body to get your body prepared for rest.
Preferably outside.
Preferably outside.
Preferably outside in the natural elements, grounding, feet hitting the ground, the sun hitting the skin.
And if it's too cold, just at least crack the window open at least, and integrate that, because all those chemicals are released to the body naturally. Whatever chemicals you're particularly aiming to release or look for in a pill, it's most naturally made in your body, and you can amplify it even more, no matter how dormant it is, with that breath pattern in those particular rhythms and those cycles.
So Devon, since we're talking about breath and air, oxygen, right? I have sickle cell trait, and I've been to a few conventions, and they end up not liking me so much when I leave, right? Because I always talk about preventative methods. I never talk about reactionary methods, because in my mind, if things are too far gone, like I did something wrong ahead of time, so let me figure it out before it even goes wrong, right? I don't want to have to go to the hospital. I don't want to have to take medication. I don't want to have to take all this stuff. So when I get up there, I talk about the 7 natural doctors, and I talk about air and humidity and just having clean air in general, and less pollution, and filtering out some of the air in the house, or when it's cold outside, increasing some of the when it's dry outside during the winter, increasing some of that humidity so influenza can't travel. They look at me like I'm crazy, and I'm like, but the sponsors are Pfizer, and I'm like, that's why I look crazy, right? Because I'm talking about things that are just natural, like this air, or being naked, and not relying on a synthetic source of something, when you can, like, we have a perfect system that's in our body. Like, there's no system better than our body. Now, do you see that happening, in your field, where people are trying to still hold on to some of those Western medicine approaches, where they're trying to supplement something that you could literally get naturally?
So my grandma, I went to Jersey to teach my grandma how to breathe, because she's on an oxygen respirator. So gave her some oolong tea, chilled her out, and we got into the breathing. And as I'm guiding her, 40, 30 minutes in, she starts spitting out mucus towards the end, right? And she said, this mainly happens when I'm on the oxygen thing, going to bed and, breathing that way. And that's when the mucus will come out. Well, I told you, Grandma, if you're breathing like this, you won't need an oxygen respirator, because that breathing pattern will help reduce the mucus that's restricting your breathing in the first place.
Yeah. So speaking about that, because what comes to my mind of oxygen on a breathing system, hyperbaric chamber. What do you feel about that?
So I've tried it a couple times. I didn't feel much of a difference personally, and mainly
Because you already do it.
because I'm already doing a lot. Everyone tells me that you're just because you already do it. You don't feel much.
You are your own hyperbaric, basically. Yeah, because
I feel like if you do feel much of a difference, I feel like maybe that's a cue to be like, hey, step up on your breathing pattern.
Yeah. How would someone step up on their breathing pattern? Let us know. What's an introduction? What's a couple patterns they should follow? Some introduction, like some basic steps.
The number one intro I can tell you right now is become friends with your breath. Because if I'm born or some unfortunate accident happened when I was a kid or whatever, and I have a quote-unquote deviated septum, by the way, and that's what we actually focus on in our breath guided training, to teach people how to help people with a deviated septum, right? And a lot of people don't realize that when you have something like that and, they're telling me to breathe a certain way, what are they saying in their minds? I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. It's not just a physical part. There's also the mental connection to your breath in that sense. So if I'm exhaling and I know that exhale will travel around the world 3 days time, touch and experience everything and come back to me, why would I want to damn my exhale? Why would I want to curse my exhale? Why would I want to exhale anything bad, so to speak? Don't you want to be part of a system that is breathing more life?
Reciprocity. Whatever you put out, you're going to get back. Yep.
Spells, right?
Yeah.
Why would I want to spell my breath? Put a spell on my breath where it's degrading.
Yeah. Oh man, that gives you a new outlook on
the whole industry.
Oh yeah. So what do you think about asthma? And how can that benefit from?
I personally, over my years of working with people, it's definitely emotional too.
Yeah.
It's also environmental, but also the emotion might also cause someone to also eat mucousy foods that will induce the asthma too.
Yeah. Do you think it's like a childhood trauma that could possibly cause that?
Yeah.
Okay. Like it's multivariate, right?
Yeah, for sure. But definitely emotional is definitely a big part of it too. And I've seen breath patterns break those emotions open, and that gasp, and people also hearing cracks in their chest for the first time, saying, I can really hear the crack in my chest. I'm like, yeah, you're finally breathing into maybe something that was stuck, and you're breathing into parts of your body that is either locked off to your breath technically, because your whole body is layers of breath. That's what you are. There's no such thing as exhaling all the air out, because if that were true, then I'd be flat, right?
Absolutely. You'd be like a flat balloon.
Yeah, because your blood is holding some oxygen too. So there's
the hemoglobin, the oxygen.
No such thing as exhaling all the air out.
Impossible.
Whatsoever.
Yeah. So when you talk, I get lost. Because I'm listening. I had a lot to say. So VO2 max. Can you increase VO2 max, the oxygen uptake of the body and how the body utilizes the oxygen? That's what VO2 max is. Yeah, that's the test that they run, right? Can you do that with breathing techniques?
At the end of the day, what carries the oxygen?
Iron, hemoglobin, blood.
Carbon.
Carbon.
Where am I getting the carbon from?
Food, carbs.
Exhale.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
So your first breath is technically your exhale. It's not the inhale. When you're in the womb and you're filled up with the embryonic fluid and you come out the womb, what are you doing? Are you inhaling more of the embryonic fluid that's inside you? No.
Yeah. Okay.
That's your exhale.
And your last breath is an exhale too.
Technically, yes. Yep.
Oh wow.
You came in this world and you go how you start. You finish how you start, as they say, right?
Yeah. You go as you come, right?
And go as you come. So your exhale builds up the carbon to allow the oxygen to travel up the brain or wherever the body in that sense. The exhale is the one that helps carry the oxygen to the rest of the body.
So, this whole time, I'm pretty sure most people think that the inhale is the only thing we should focus on. Like the exhale is like, okay, we're just getting the bad stuff out. So you're saying that has a profound effect as well as the inhale, the exhale.
In terms of temperature, how can I tell someone's alive? Either they're cold or they have some warmth. Which one?
Well, they have some warmth. If they're dead, they're cold.
Where do I get the warm breath from?
Yeah.
The exhale.
Yeah.
The real chi, if you will, is the exhale.
Because when you breathe in, it's cold. Yeah. You schooling me today, man. You schooling your boy today.
Practical. Just making it practical.
Yeah. So once again, I always come back to the sickle cell with you for air, right? Because this is very important. So one of the things that I use, I'll just let you know a little bit of what I did back in the days, right? Back in 2009, 2010, I came across citrulline malate, and we used that to increase nitric oxide, right? A synthetic form of citrulline. And, as I got older, I was like, I can get it from the sun. I can get it from like things like watermelon. I can increase antioxidants so that, I can allow for nitric oxide to express itself better. And then I came across humming. And could you explain a little bit more about humming and what that does when it comes to nitric oxide release?
Yeah, so humming is a powerful breath pattern that connects the vibrational resonance of your quote-unquote exhale with the rest of your body. And you technically build up a rhythm with biofeedback also from the humming as well. Same thing also with tapping as well, but same thing with humming in a sense. That's your whole body, quote unquote, vibrating. And you're taking a loop in a sense. So when you're listening, technically you're taking in the air molecules that's creating the vibration that you're hearing, technically inhaling that, and you're literally creating a cycle there with the humming. And that humming becomes your own vibrational bubble, if you will, and more cells are having more communication at that point. So better nitric oxide or just better overall efficiency in the body in terms of production, in terms of particular fluids that needs to be released to help you heal faster, things of that nature.
So when I breathe air, hypothetically, through my mouth, it's a different quality of air when I breathe through my nose.
Bingo. So
why is that?
On the mouth, you have a lag. On the nose, there's no lag. It's direct contact to the diaphragm. With the mouth, there's lag time of air even reaching the lungs. So you're not having efficiency in terms of the transport via nose versus mouth. Heaven, hell.
Okay.
As they say.
And they say when you mouth breathe, you change the structure of your face.
Right. That's where you get like the overjaw. I mean, technically, over time, it even
it drops your face,
drops your face, and technically makes it even harder to breathe because that's the breath pattern you're inducing, and then that's where the sleep apnea starts to
and the snoring and all that.
That's when you literally see your breath literally reshaping your whole body. At that point, if you really want to see your breath and age faster, mouth breathe a lot.
But so let me ask you a question. So people who are stuffy all the time, they have bad sinus problems. They can't breathe through their nose. What do you suggest for that?
Find a breath guide that is willing to
breathe
with you for at least 3 months, because not many out there, that's willing to do that. And that's why it's a mission for me to share how we can take someone that has a deviated septum, no matter how many surgeries they got, unfortunately, if you took the time to type in deviated septum and look in the comments of people suffering on an everyday basis, suicide, and people are like, I can't believe I went through SAT with a deviated septum and feeling the way I did, etc., and still broke through. Like, there are so many crazy stories out there just from someone not having that connection to their nose.
So essentially, what the sun does when you're deficient, it creates seasonal affective disorder. The nose does when you don't breathe through the nose. It's the same thing.
That's a powerful connection, because when we're inhaling, we're also taking in information as well.
Yeah.
And this is the number one reader for that.
Yeah.
In terms
It's
of
the number one indicator of who your ancestors are too. So
exactly. The nose knows.
Yeah.
So when you're inhaling, you're taking in information of that environment, your space, who you're around as well. You know, that even plays a role into the information you're inhaling and communicating with as you go back and forth with your breath.
Love it, man. Everything is information. I think we lack the understanding of that.
So, for instance, this whole room is technically information, right? I know for a fact this room has corners, right? Any foundation has corners. So if you're someone that's claustrophobic, you can actually look at every corner, especially if you're in a work environment too, and you have a meeting, go 5 minutes before the meeting, look at every corner, and as you inhale, look down. As you exhale, look up. And what are you doing? You're harmonizing a parasympathetic breath via nose, slow breath, and you're harmonizing with your environment via breath. So when the meeting happens and everything is going, information is flowing, etc., you know, deep down in your subconscious, for someone that is claustrophobic, they have a easier connection with their environment. It's not as invasive. They feel like they can breathe. You know, so it's not too invasive at that point, and that's the power of using your breath with your environment in that, and what I call mental breath work at that point.
For me, you know, for the 7 natural doctors, the gateway to a lot of the mental health portion of the doctors is breathing, is air, is relaxation, is the calmness and stillness, is, you know, the ohms, right? And it's funny how, you know, we talk about the vibration of nitric oxide, and, you know, one of the first things I learned personally was the ohm when it came to breath work. And me over here dealing with sickle cell trait, that's what I needed the whole time, right? Especially as an athlete. So as an athlete, I used to breathe a lot through my mouth, right? Like a dog, right? I'd be panting, right? I had a friend, she was like, Lance, you know, I saw you playing. I think you need to breathe through your nose instead of your mouth when you're playing. I'm like, no, but it's a smaller pathway. Listen to me. You need to breathe through your nose night and day. And I felt different. I felt different. Like, I think that was probably one of the things that changed. Like, you know, what would you say, what possibly happened for me when I switched over from the mouth breathing to the nose breathing?
You have a better filter. That's one. You have more oxygen also going to your brain as well. That's one. So more oxygen goes efficiently to the brain, then the rest of the body starts working more in an efficient way, because it starts from top going all the way down. How we think, also how we feel as well. So that plays a huge factor in how your breath pattern is also how you feel at that moment in time. That's really your reality. Your breath is literally
Your reality.
Your reality.
Yeah, man. It's the air is the essential of life. Like, that's how, you know, what J. Cole says. What chest breathing hard, letting me know that I'm alive. You heard the song?
Okay,
You remember?
yeah.
How does it go?
Something of that nature.
Yeah, something like that. Well, he referenced the fact that the breath is letting him know he's alive.
Yeah.
But before we finish up here, I want to know what you have here on the table, man. Like, I like these shades though. You know, I need these green boys. What are these?
So they're emerald crystal lenses. So we have a crystal lens line, not just emerald. We have amethyst, citrine, also blue kyanite as well, in many different frames. These are the copper line that's like wrapped.
Yeah.
And
what is that for?
Crystals in general emit infrared, so it's
Yeah.
great for the mitochondria. But in general, instead of wearing glasses that may be prescription and may give you a headache,
Or block out the infrared.
or block out the infrared,
Block out the blue, the infrared, everything, right?
and And with the crystals, you're looking through a natural fractal. So through our mirror neurons or wearing certain things, we're looking through a crystal. And our eyes, technically, when we turn to dust, if you will, our eyes are actually crystalline structures as well. The body, at the end of the day, the body is technically a liquid crystal. So if we have a crystal that we're gazing through, especially against harmful lighting, it's going to be less invasive. Also, technically, they're blue light blockers naturally, as well, especially the citrine with the yellow.
Oh, these cool.
Yeah, man.
Oh, I can rock these to the club.
Yeah, man.
These are nice. So let me
And the first, also, I want to know, let everyone know, the first ever crystal, glass that we quote unquote see through is actually quartz. So we went from quartz to glass to now even plastic. You know.
So you bringing us back.
Bringing it back with some style.
Yeah. So, when I was younger, we used to do, what was it? Ultrasound, right? And someone once told me that at the head of the tool they would use, it was like a diamond or something in there. It's like some type of gem
Or a crystal.
in there. Yeah, a crystal in there. What is that? What is that about? It intensifies like the radiation or something, or?
It does.
Yeah.
And in general, crystals can be also used to even power our homes now in 2024.
How so?
How so? Go look up sand-powered batteries. It's a thing. So technically crystals, yes. Crystals can technically power your homes now. And it's powering your watch, technically.
The car?
The car.
I need some gas, man. Gas is high right now. I need all that. Tell me where to find the crystals at.
Soon.
Yeah.
But it's mainly for houses, I know, in terms of that industry. But you can power houses. We're getting to the point where crystals can be used for so many different use cases instead of glass. You know, crystals also refract 20% more than glass. So that's probably why it was used with that diamond as well. And it's very harmonious with the sun. So when I'm sun gazing as well, I notice there's like a spectrum, especially on the sunset, there's like a green hue that comes. So you'll actually catch it with the crystal lens as well. And we also do eye breathing with this. So
Hold up, time.
Yeah.
You can breathe with your eyes.
Yeah, so harmonizing your breath patterns with your eye patterns.
Okay.
So when you're wearing these, or when you're sun gazing, you would blink as you exhale, and then the inhale, you would rest, and then the exhale, you would blink, and you would start to build up a rhythm, and you would start to feel your eyes really engaging, no matter what you're looking through, but really engaging with what you're looking at as well. They did a brain study on me as well, and I was looking at a plant, doing the exact same breathing pattern. The only thing that shifted that they saw high gamma readings afterwards was my breath connection with the plant. And that goes with anything. So your breath connection with your muscles and the contracting of the muscles, they go hand in hand.
So let me ask you a question. So, when I sleep next to my girlfriend, my breathing or her breathing influences the other, vice versa, right? And I used to think that was like weird because if I slow down, she slowed down. Like it's the person who slows down, the next person slows down with that person. I don't think it happens the other way. When that person speeds up, person.
Well, it depends how strong your connection to breath is at that point. That too, because it could maybe throw you off, and then you tug the other way.
Okay.
Right. So there is that, but I have seen something called what the CIA would use called mirror breathing, where
tell us about that. Tell me about anything CIA.
Where in certain situations, if there's a frantic situation happening, the person would latch on to someone's speech pattern. So as they're talking, that would be the exhale. And whenever they inhale, you would inhale with them. And you do that a couple times to latch on to their quote unquote. But this is literally body language.
It's like double dutching, you jumping in.
Literally. So you're latching onto that rhythm, but you want to get to the point where your exhale is longer than they're talking. And then they'll start to calm down themselves as well. But it's powerful when it comes to relationships because you're with that person, 24/7, 365, and your mirror neurons will pick up, including the breathing patterns for sure. And something wild happened with my Jen over here, wifey, that she was doing the the pressure breathing, just going out, like long exhales out, silent inhales, and she didn't even notice she was doing it. And it kept pushing me, because I'm so cognitive of my breath. As I'm resting there, I'm like, oh no, she's still going. Okay, I got to keep up.
A little competition going on.
And then she wakes up with so much energy, and I was like, hey, so how was the breathing last night? And she was like, huh? She didn't even realize, because she also does the breathing, mainly throughout the day too. So I got to witness firsthand, like, wow, like she's doing it automatically.
Subconsciously. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's definitely powerful in a relationship to hold that space. No matter how much the turmoil is, breathing, the will to breathe.
Yeah.
The will to breathe is the true testament of life for sure.
Absolutely. So let's wrap this up. I want you to leave the crowd or the audience with something that's on your mind, or something that you want to give them.
What I want to give them,
a little gift, a little
gift?
little gift of knowledge.
Gift of knowledge is to breathe more life into progress. So forget the past, but keep the lessons. So keep breathing life into progress.
So you're gonna leave us with some tunes there, I see.
I'm gonna leave you with some tunes.
But
so going back to the humming.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna play what I call a didge. This is called a didgeridoo. And I mainly go with the word didgeridoo and not the other word. They may call it yaki or yadi or the other word.
Yeah.
I went with didge because I went to Atlanta and I learned that Africa also has their own form of didgeridoo. So didgeridoo for me personally is definitely the universal word, what I use. Some people may call me out on that. It's okay. But just know that Australia is not the only one with didgeridoos. Africa has them.
India?
India has them.
Pretty sure they do.
Japan has them in the mountains over there. So, this is a beautiful instrument that I do some circular breathing on. And the whole time I want you to inhale and hum as much as you can, breathing only with the nose and harmonizing with the didge. All right?
Before you do that, plug yourself, because we're going to end with this.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. So
you can find me on YouTube, Devon the Black Airbender, on Spotify, the Black Airbender as well, and mainly all the social medias, the Black Airbender.
thank you, man.
Thank you, brother.
Appreciate it.
And the main website, alchemybreath.academy.
Let's lead us off into this.
All right, breathing only with the nose, relax and hum as long as you can, and harmonize.
Thank you, man.
Thank you for sharing the breath.
Appreciate it.